Hello students, myself Dr. Sherki Pratima, Ahmednagar Jilla Maratha Vidya Prasarak Samaj, New Arts, Commerce and Science College, Ahmednagar. Supply analysis. This is your fourth chapter as per your 12th standard syllabus. So in the last video, we have discussed the concepts of cost. There are two concepts. First is the concept of cost and second is the concepts of revenue. In the last video, we have completed the concepts of cost. On that time, we have also discussed the three types of cost. First is the total cost, then second is the average cost, and third is the marginal cost. Basically, cost means what? The entrepreneur undertakes an act of production. He has to use the various inputs like the raw material, then labor, then capital, etc. He has to make the payments for such inputs. So that is called as the cost. Means the expenditure incurred on these inputs is known as the cost of production. Okay. So on that that type we have discussed what is the meaning of the total cost, what is the meaning of the average cost and marginal cost, and the in the formula what is the meaning of the total cost. It's like the TC is equal to TFC plus TVC, means the total, the fixed cost plus the total variable cost. Then average cost, the AC is equal to TC upon TQ, means the total cost divided by total quantity. Then next is the marginal cost. Okay, so the in the marginal cost, the symbolically we have discussed that the MCN is equal to TCN minus TCN minus 1. So that is called as the cost. So these are the different types of the cost. Today we have discussed the next part. It's like the concepts of the revenue. This is the last point to your the fourth chapter. So what is the meaning of the revenue? Basically, the revenue means the receipts of payments. Means what? The producer has produced the different goods and services. Those goods and services is available for sale. A given quantity of commodity in the market at various prices. So on that time, he received some payments. Otherwise, he received some amounts. So that is called as the revenue. Means in the technical language, it refers to the receipts obtained by a firm from sale of certain quantities of a commodity at a given price in a market. That is called as the revenue. See now, the revenue means what? It's that is like the income, those people's income, means the seller's income, otherwise the industrialist income. So the concepts of revenue, it relates the three parts, otherwise the three different types. The first type is the total revenue, second is the average revenue, and third one is most important, is like the marginal revenue. First of all, you have to remember that the revenue means what? Revenue means basically it's a receipts, otherwise it's an income for that firm. Means the producer has produced the different goods and services. Those goods and services is available for sale at a given market price, and on that time he is the received some amount, otherwise the receipts, that is called as the revenue. Revenue means what? Basically it's like the income. So there are three types. The first is the total revenue, second is the average revenue, and third most important is like the marginal revenue. So let's we discuss the first type of the revenue, that is called as the total revenue, and the short form is like the TR. So the total revenue means what? The total revenue is the total sales proceeds of a firm by selling a commodity at a given price. It is the total income of a firm. Basically, the total revenue means what? The total sales of that commodity. The total revenue is the total sales proceeds of a firm by selling a commodity at a given price. Means the particular price the sellers will sell these all commodities. That is called as the total revenue. Means they collect that the income, otherwise receive some income. So that is called as the total revenue. It is the total income of a firm. So total revenue is calculated by the price multiplied by quantity. That is the basic formula about the total revenue. the price, particular price of that commodity multiplied by how many commodities he has to produce, the quantity of a commodity. For example, if a firm sells 15 units of a commodity, means the producer has produced the 15 units, and those units of a commodity is available for sale, and the price per unit price is like the 200. So the total revenue is like the TR is equal to P multiplied by Q. P means what? P means price and Q means quantity. So what is the price about that particular commodity? It's like the 200 rupees. And how many commodities he has to sell? He has to sell the 15 units. So the answer is the 200 rupees multiplied by 15, that is called as the rupees 3000. So that is the total revenue, that is called as the total revenue. Then next type is like the average revenue. See, the average means what? The last video I have just discussed that the average means the single figure which is represent the whole units, otherwise the series. So the average revenue is the revenue per unit of output sold. Means what? In the last, the total revenue, we have discussed the how many commodities he has to produce and what is the price of the per commodity, otherwise the per unit. So it is the opposite side. Means you know the total the revenue, but you don't know what is the single unit's price. So the average revenue means what? The per unit of output sold means what? The per unit price of per unit. So that is called as the average revenue, otherwise the per unit income or the revenue. It is obtained by the dividing the total revenue by the number of units sold. Means the how many commodities you have to sell and what is the revenue. The 15, if you have to produce the 15 units of a commodity, per unit price, you don't know what is the per unit price, and the last, the revenue average, the last, the income about that 15 units like the 3000 rupees. So you don't know what is the single units price, otherwise the single units revenue. So that is called as the average revenue. See now, the formula is like the AR is equal to TR upon TQ. So the AR means what? It's the average revenue. TR means total revenue, and TQ means the total quantity. Initial, they have used the just initial about that word. For example, if the total revenue of 15 units is like the rupees 3000, then average revenue is calculated as that the AR is equal to TR upon TQ. And you know the AR means what? The average revenue. TR means the total revenue, and total revenue is like the rupees 3000, means how many rupees he has to earn, otherwise what is the income of that firm? The rupees 3000. So divided by 15. So the last, the income is like the rupees 200, means per unit's revenue is like the 200. He has to the collect that revenue is like rupees 200. That is called as the average revenue. Average revenue means what? In this type, they have explained only the one of the most important part is like the single commodities revenue. So that is called as the average revenue. Then let's we discuss the next point, the marginal revenue. This is the third type of revenue. So it is the net addition made to the total revenue by selling an extra units of that commodity. See now, marginal revenue means what? The marginal, throughout I have discussed that word, the marginal. Marginal means what? The additional unit of that commodity. So the marginal revenue is the net addition made to total revenue by selling an extra units of that commodity. Means first of all, he has to produce the 20 commodities and one is the additional. So that is called as the 21. But we have discussed the one of the most important example. Before I have discussed that example, we just like the formula. We have discussed like the formula MRN is equal to TRN minus TRN minus 1. So the MRN means what? Marginal revenue of nth unit. Nth unit means what? The units of numbers. Then the TRN means total revenue of the number of units. Then next is the TRN minus 1 means total revenue of previous units. And the N means what? The number of units sold, means how many units we have produced, how many units we have sold. So we have discussed one of the most important example is like if the previous total revenue from the sale of 20 tables, means the producer has produced the 20 tables, and that 20 tables price, otherwise the revenue is like the 4,000 rupees. He has to sell that 20 tables, and the revenue is like the rupees 4,000. And that from the sale of 21 tables, see now, he has, in the next addition, he has to sell the 21 tables, and the revenue is like the 4,200. So the marginal revenue is, we just calculate that the marginal revenue is the 4,200 minus 4,000 means what? The MRN is equal to TRN minus TRN minus 1 means the N minus 1 means what? The before we have N minus TRN minus 1 means what? The total revenue of previous units. Means before we have produced the additional units of that table, the last 20 tables price, otherwise the 20 tables revenue is like the 4,000 rupees. See now, the 4,200 minus 4,000 is equal to 200 rupees per table, means the single last table's price is like the 200 rupees. Otherwise the industrialist collect the revenue about rupees 200 per table. So that is called as the marginal revenue. Student, this point is most important to your board exam. The concepts of the cost and revenue. This is so simple and it's so easy. In the concepts of cost, there are also the three types. The first is total cost, second is average cost, and last is the marginal cost. Same thing we have repeated. The concepts of revenue, the total revenue, then average revenue, and last is the marginal revenue. So I think you have to understood that point, and I think you have to remember that in your board exam. So please stay home, stay safe. Goodbye, everybody.